I exposed my cheating wife in public, with divorce papers and a DNA test. John T. Miller is a man whose life has been marked by significant transitions and achievements, both personally and professionally. With a solid background in corporate life, John spent over a decade climbing the corporate ladder, gaining invaluable experience in management and strategic planning. His dedication and hard work paid off, leading him to a senior position at a well-respected firm. However, despite his success, John felt a growing desire for independence and the opportunity to create something of his own. This yearning prompted a bold decision. He left the security of his corporate job to embark on an entrepreneurial journey. With a vision in mind and a passion for innovation, John founded his own business, which quickly gained traction in the market. His ability to identify gaps and provide solutions not only showcased his business acumen, but also allowed him to build a successful enterprise that thrived in a competitive landscape. While John was making strides in his career, his wife, Dawn, was equally accomplished in her own right. A dedicated professional, Dawn had carved out a niche for herself in the field of education. Her commitment to teaching and her passion for nurturing young minds earned her respect among colleagues and students alike. Beyond her career, Dawn was a devoted mother, balancing her professional responsibilities with the demands of family life. She played an integral role in shaping the lives of their children, Emily and Kent, instilling in them the values of hard work, integrity, and compassion. Dawn's ability to juggle her career and motherhood was a testament to her strength and determination, making her a role model for many. Emily, the couple's eldest child, followed in her mother's footsteps, pursuing a career in education. Inspired by Dawn's dedication, Emily sought to make a difference in the lives of young learners. She attended a prestigious university, where she excelled academically and developed a passion for teaching. After graduation, Emily landed a position at a local school, where she quickly became known for her innovative teaching methods and her ability to connect with students. Her commitment to education mirrored her mother's, and she embraced the challenges of the profession with enthusiasm and grace. Emily's journey was not just about her career. It was also about her personal growth and the relationships she built along the way. As she navigated the complexities of adulthood, she remained close to her family, often seeking advice and support from her parents. Kent, the younger sibling, took a different path. With a keen interest in technology and entrepreneurship, he pursued a degree in computer science. Kent was always fascinated by the digital world and the endless possibilities it offered. His innovative mindset led him to explore various tech-related projects, and he eventually launched his own startup focused on developing software solutions for small businesses. Kent's entrepreneurial spirit was a reflection of his father's journey, and he was determined to carve out his own niche in the tech industry. While he faced challenges typical of any startup, Kent's resilience and creativity shone through, earning him recognition among peers and mentors alike. His journey was marked by a blend of ambition and a desire to make a meaningful impact in the tech landscape. As a family, the Millers shared a strong bond, built on mutual respect and support. John and Dawn worked tirelessly to create a nurturing environment for Emily and Kent, encouraging them to pursue their passions while instilling the importance of family values. Family dinners were a staple in their household, where they would gather to share stories, celebrate achievements, and discuss their dreams for the future. These moments fostered a sense of unity and understanding, allowing each family member to express themselves freely. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic family life, challenges loomed. The pressures of work, coupled with the demands of raising two ambitious children, often tested the couple's relationship. John's transition from corporate life to entrepreneurship brought about significant changes, not only in his professional landscape, but also in the dynamics of their family life. As he poured his energy into building his business, the balance between work and home life began to shift, leading to moments of tension and misunderstanding. Despite these challenges, the Millers remained committed to one another, navigating the complexities of life together. Their story is one of ambition, love, and the pursuit of dreams, but it also serves as a reminder of the fragility of relationships when faced with external pressures. As we continue to explore the intricacies of John and Dawn's journey, we will uncover the pivotal moments that tested their bond and ultimately shaped their family dynamics. The narrative of the Millers is not just about individual achievements. It is a testament to the strength of family and the enduring quest for connection amidst life's challenges. The moment John T. Miller began to suspect his wife Dawn's infidelity was subtle yet profound, marked by a series of seemingly innocuous events that gradually unraveled the fabric of their marriage. It all started with a shift in Dawn's behavior. John noticed that she was spending more time away from home, often citing work commitments or social gatherings with friends. Initially, he brushed it off as a natural consequence of her busy schedule, especially given her demanding career and education. However, as the weeks turned into months, the frequency of her absences began to raise red flags in John's mind. He recalled the days when they would share dinner together, discussing their lives and dreams, but now those moments felt increasingly rare. The laughter that once filled their home was replaced by an unsettling silence, and John found himself questioning whether he truly knew his wife anymore. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, John returned home to find Dawn unusually distant. She was on her phone, her expression shifting from joy to anxiety as she quickly ended a conversation when he entered the room. The sight of her hastily putting her phone away sent a jolt of unease through him. It was a small gesture, but it felt significant, as if she were hiding something from him. John tried to dismiss the feeling, but the seed of doubt had been planted. He began to pay closer attention to her habits, noting the late nights and the vague explanations for her whereabouts. Each time she left, he felt a growing sense of unease, a nagging feeling that something was amiss. In the midst of this turmoil, John confided in his close friend Bobby, who had always been a sounding board for his thoughts and concerns. Bobby, a pragmatic and straightforward individual, listened intently as John shared his worries about Dawn. He offered support but also urged John to consider the possibility that his fears might be unfounded. However, as John recounted the details of Dawn's recent behavior, Bobby's expression shifted from concern to contemplation. He suggested that John might want to investigate further, just to put his mind at ease. The idea of surveillance felt foreign to John, but the thought of confronting the truth, whatever it might be, began to take root in his mind. With Bobby's encouragement, John reluctantly decided to hire a private investigator, a decision that would set the stage for a dramatic unraveling of secrets. Enter Steve, a seasoned detective known for his discretion and thoroughness. John met with Steve in a small cafe, where he laid out his concerns and the details of Dawn's recent behavior. Steve listened carefully, taking notes and asking probing questions that forced John to confront his feelings head-on. The detective's calm demeanor provided a sense of reassurance, but the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on John's heart. He felt a mix of hope and dread, knowing that the investigation could either confirm his worst fears or bring him peace of mind. As the investigation commenced, John found himself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. He was anxious yet eager for answers, torn between the desire to trust his wife and the growing suspicion that something was indeed wrong. Steve began his work by following Dawn discreetly, gathering information about her daily routines and interactions. Each day that passed felt like an eternity for John, who was left to grapple with his thoughts in the silence of their home. He replayed moments in his mind, searching for clues that might explain the changes he had observed. The once warm and loving atmosphere of their home now felt cold and filled with uncertainty. Bobby remained a constant source of support during this tumultuous time, checking in with John regularly and offering encouragement. He reminded John that the truth, no matter how painful, was better than living in a state of doubt. As the days turned into weeks, John found himself anxiously awaiting updates from Steve, each message carrying the weight of potential heartbreak. The detective's reports were methodical, detailing Dawn's movements and interactions, but they also left John feeling increasingly uneasy. He learned that Dawn had been spending time with a group of friends, but there were also instances where her whereabouts were unaccounted for, raising more questions than answers. The investigation took a toll on John, who found himself oscillating between hope and despair. He wanted to believe in the strength of their marriage, yet the evidence began to paint a troubling picture. The emotional strain was palpable, and John often found himself lost in thought, grappling with the implications of what he might discover. The once vibrant love story between him and Dawn now felt like a fragile facade, teetering on the brink of collapse. As the investigation progressed, John realized that he was not just searching for the truth about Dawn. He was also confronting his own fears and insecurities. The possibility of infidelity forced him to reflect on their relationship, the choices they had made, and the dreams they had shared. With each passing day, the stakes grew higher, and John understood that the outcome of this investigation could change everything. The stage was set for a confrontation that would either lead to healing or irrevocable heartbreak, and John braced himself for the truth that lay ahead. As John T. Miller grappled with the unsettling suspicions regarding his wife Dawn, he realized that he needed to take decisive action to uncover the truth. The emotional weight of uncertainty was becoming unbearable, and he understood that confronting his fears head-on was the only way to find clarity. After confiding in his friend Bobby, who had encouraged him to seek professional help, John made the difficult decision to hire a private investigator. He wanted someone experienced and discreet, someone who could navigate the complexities of his situation without drawing unnecessary attention. After conducting some research and receiving recommendations, John settled on Frank Jones, a seasoned investigator known for his thoroughness and professionalism. John met with Frank in a quiet office, where he laid out the details of his concerns. He explained the changes he had noticed in Dawn's behavior, her increasing absences, and the nagging feeling that something was amiss. Frank listened intently, taking notes and asking probing questions that helped John articulate his fears more clearly. The investigator assured John that he would approach the situation with sensitivity and discretion, emphasizing the importance of gathering concrete evidence before jumping to conclusions. This reassurance provided John with a glimmer of hope, but it was also tinged with anxiety, as he knew that the truth could be painful. Once they established a plan, Frank began the investigation by conducting surveillance on Dawn. He utilized various methods to gather information, including following her during her outings and monitoring her interactions with others. John felt a mix of anticipation and dread as he awaited updates from Frank. Each day felt like an eternity, and he found himself oscillating between hope that his fears were unfounded and the fear that he would discover something devastating. The emotional turmoil was palpable. He often replayed moments from their marriage in his mind, searching for signs he might have missed, wondering if he had been blind to the truth all along. As the investigation progressed, Frank provided John with initial findings that were both illuminating and distressing. He reported that Dawn had been spending time with a group of friends, but there were also instances where her whereabouts were unaccounted for. John's heart raced as he absorbed the information, feeling a knot tighten in his stomach. The uncertainty was agonizing, and he found himself questioning every interaction he had with Dawn, every loving moment they had shared. The emotional toll was significant. He felt as though he was living in a state of limbo, caught between the desire to trust his wife and the growing evidence that suggested otherwise. The importance of gathering evidence became increasingly clear to John as the investigation unfolded. He understood that without concrete proof, he would be left with nothing but speculation and doubt. Frank employed various methods to ensure that the evidence collected was reliable and comprehensive. He utilized discrete surveillance techniques, capturing photographs and videos that documented Dawn's activities. Additionally, he conducted background checks on individuals who appeared in Dawn's life, seeking to uncover any connections that might raise further suspicions. Each piece of evidence collected was meticulously documented, creating a timeline that would help John make sense of the situation. As the days turned into weeks, John found himself anxiously awaiting Frank's updates. The emotional roller coaster was exhausting. He experienced moments of hope when Dawn seemed to be her usual self, only to be plunged into despair when new findings contradicted that perception. The investigation was not just about uncovering the truth. It was also a journey of self-discovery for John. He began to confront his own insecurities and fears, questioning whether he had contributed to the distance that had grown between him and Dawn. The emotional strain was palpable, and he often found solace in conversations with Bobby, who provided a listening ear and a steady presence during this tumultuous time. One particularly difficult evening, John received a call from Frank that would change everything. The investigator had gathered enough evidence to warrant a serious discussion. John's heart raced as he prepared himself for the worst. Frank detailed a recent encounter he had observed, where Dawn was seen having dinner with a man who was not part of their social circle. The description of the interaction was troubling, It was clear that there was a level of intimacy that went beyond mere friendship. John felt as though the ground had been pulled out from beneath him. The emotional turmoil reached a crescendo as he processed the implications of what he had just heard. The man's identity was still unknown, but the mere thought of Dawn being involved with someone else shattered John's heart. In the days that followed, John found himself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, sadness, and confusion swirled within him as he tried to make sense of the evidence Frank had presented. He knew that confronting Dawn would be inevitable, but he also understood that he needed to approach the situation with caution. The evidence was crucial, but how he presented it would determine the course of their conversation and the future of their relationship. John spent sleepless nights contemplating the best way to address the situation, weighing the potential outcomes of their confrontation. Ultimately, John realized that the investigation had not only provided him with the evidence he sought, but had also forced him to confront the reality of his marriage. The journey to uncover the truth was fraught with emotional challenges, but it had also empowered him to take control of his narrative. As he prepared for the inevitable confrontation with Dawn, he knew that he had to approach the situation with honesty and vulnerability. The truth, no matter how painful, was the only way forward, and John was determined to face it head-on. The investigation had set the stage for a pivotal moment in their lives, one that would either lead to healing or irrevocable heartbreak. As the investigation into Dawn's activities progressed, John T. Miller found himself on a tumultuous emotional journey, oscillating between hope and despair. However, nothing could have prepared him for the devastating findings that would ultimately confirm his worst fears. After weeks of surveillance and gathering evidence, Frank Jones, the private investigator, reached out to John with information that would shatter his world. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on John as he sat in his living room, heart racing, waiting for Frank to deliver the news. Frank began by detailing the findings from his investigation, which had taken an unexpected turn. While initially focused on Dawn's whereabouts and interactions, the investigation had uncovered something far more alarming. DNA evidence suggesting that John was not the biological father of his children, Emily and Kent. The implications of this revelation were staggering. John felt as though the ground had been pulled out from beneath him, and he struggled to process the enormity of what he was hearing. Frank explained that during the course of the investigation, he had discreetly obtained DNA samples from John and the children for comparison. The results were unequivocal. John was not their biological father. The emotional impact of this discovery was profound. John had always prided himself on being a devoted father, pouring his heart and soul into raising Emily and Kent. The thought that they were not biologically his children felt like a betrayal of the deepest kind. He had nurtured them, celebrated their milestones, and shared countless memories, all while believing that they were a product of his love and commitment to Dawn. The realization that their bond was built on a lie left him reeling. John felt as though he had been living in a carefully constructed illusion, and now that illusion had crumbled, leaving behind a stark reality that was both painful and disorienting. As he processed the implications of the DNA evidence, John was overwhelmed by a torrent of emotions. Anger surged within him, directed not only at Dawn for her betrayal, but also at himself for not seeing the signs sooner. He felt a profound sense of loss, not just for the relationship he had with Dawn, but for the connection he believed he had with his children. The thought of Emily and Kent growing up without the knowledge of their true parentage was heartbreaking. John had always envisioned a future filled with family gatherings, shared traditions, and unconditional love, but now that future felt irrevocably altered. The betrayal felt like a knife to the heart, cutting through the trust that had once defined his marriage. John had dedicated himself to building a life with Dawn, investing in their relationship and their family. The weight of her deception was staggering, and he struggled to reconcile the woman he loved with the reality of her actions. How could she have hidden such a monumental truth from him? The questions swirled in his mind, each one more painful than the last. John felt as though he had been robbed of not only his identity as a father, but also the very foundation of his family. In the days that followed, John found himself grappling with the emotional fallout of the investigation's findings. He felt isolated, burdened by a secret that he could not share with anyone. The weight of the truth pressed down on him, and he often found himself lost in thought, replaying memories of his children and the moments they had shared. Each laugh, each hug, and each milestone now felt tainted by the knowledge that they were not biologically his. The love he had for them remained, but it was now intertwined with a sense of betrayal that was difficult to navigate. John also faced the daunting task of confronting Dawn about the findings. The thought of that conversation filled him with dread. He knew that he had to address the situation, but the emotional toll of revealing the truth was overwhelming. How could he confront her without losing control? How could he express the depth of his pain and betrayal without causing irreparable damage to their already fragile relationship? The gravity of the situation loomed large, and John felt as though he was standing on the precipice of a chasm, unsure of what lay on the other side. As he prepared for the inevitable confrontation, John sought solace in the support of his friend Bobby. He shared the devastating news, and Bobby listened with a heavy heart, offering words of encouragement and understanding. Bobby reminded John that he was not alone in this journey, and that he had the strength to face whatever lay ahead. The emotional support provided a small measure of comfort, but it did little to alleviate the pain that had taken root within John. Ultimately, the findings from the investigation had irrevocably altered John's perception of his family and his life. The DNA evidence had not only confirmed his worst fears, but had also forced him to confront the reality of his situation. The betrayal felt insurmountable, and the emotional impact was profound. As he prepared to confront Dawn, John knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he also understood that he had to seek the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The journey toward healing would be long and arduous, but it was a journey he was determined to undertake, for the sake of himself and the children he loved so deeply. As John T. Miller grappled with the devastating revelations about his wife Dawn and the shocking truth regarding their children, he knew that the time had come to confront her and those involved in the betrayal. The emotional turmoil he had experienced over the past weeks had solidified his resolve to address the situation head-on. After much contemplation, John devised a strategy that would allow him to reveal the truth in a way that would leave no room for denial or evasion. He decided to confront Dawn during their upcoming 25th wedding anniversary celebration, a milestone that was meant to be a joyous occasion but had now become a pivotal moment in their lives. John's plan was meticulously crafted. He envisioned the anniversary dinner as a gathering of close family and friends, a setting that would amplify the emotional stakes involved. He intended to invite not only their children, Emily and Kent, but also other couples from their social circle, many of whom had been friends for years. John believed that having witnesses present would not only lend weight to his revelations, but also ensure that Dawn could not dismiss or downplay the gravity of the situation. The presence of their friends would serve as a reminder of the life they had built together, a life that was now marred by deceit. In the days leading up to the anniversary, John worked tirelessly to prepare for the confrontation. He gathered evidence from the investigation, including the DNA results and the documentation of Dawn's activities that Frank had compiled. Each piece of evidence was a painful reminder of the betrayal, but John knew that he needed to present a clear and undeniable case. He also reached out to Bobby for support, sharing his plan and seeking advice on how to navigate the emotional landscape of the evening. Bobby, understanding the stakes involved, encouraged John to stay focused and resolute, reminding him that the truth needed to be exposed, no matter how difficult it might be. As the anniversary approached, John felt a mix of anticipation and dread. He knew that the confrontation would be emotionally charged, not only for him but for everyone involved. The thought of revealing the truth in front of their friends and family was daunting, but John believed it was necessary. He wanted to ensure that Dawn faced the consequences of her actions, not just privately but publicly, where the weight of her betrayal could be fully realized. The emotional stakes were high, and John understood that this was not just about him. It was about the integrity of their family and the lives that had been affected by Dawn's choices. On the night of the anniversary, the atmosphere was filled with a bittersweet tension. The dining room was beautifully decorated, with candles flickering and a lavish meal prepared to celebrate their years together. Friends and family arrived, bringing gifts and well wishes, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to unfold. John put on a brave face, greeting guests and engaging in small talk, all the while feeling the weight of the truth pressing down on him. He could see Dawn, radiant and smiling, completely oblivious to the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. As the evening progressed, John felt his heart race with each passing moment. He knew that he had to wait for the right time to reveal the truth, and he was determined to do so in a way that would leave no room for doubt. After dinner, as everyone gathered around the table for toasts, John seized the moment. He stood up, raising his glass, and called for attention. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to him, curiosity etched on their faces. "Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate our 25th anniversary," John began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "It's a milestone that should be filled with joy and love, but I have something important to share that cannot wait any longer." He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "I've recently uncovered some truths about our family that have changed everything." The room was charged with tension as John continued, detailing the findings from the investigation. He spoke of the DNA evidence that revealed he was not the biological father of Emily and Kent, and the implications of that revelation. Gasps filled the room, and John could see the shock on the faces of their friends. He then turned his gaze to Dawn, who sat frozen in disbelief, her expression shifting from confusion to horror as the reality of the situation began to sink in. "I know that many of you have seen us as the perfect family," John continued, his voice unwavering, "but the truth is that our lives have been built on a foundation of lies. Dawn has betrayed not only me but also our children and all of you who have supported us over the years." The emotional stakes were palpable, and John felt a surge of adrenaline as he prepared to expose the full extent of the betrayal. As he spoke, John could see the reactions of their friends and family. Some looked shocked, others sympathetic, and a few appeared angry. The gravity of the situation was undeniable, and John knew that he was doing the right thing by bringing the truth to light. He wanted Dawn to understand the weight of her actions, to feel the impact of her betrayal not just on him, but on everyone who had believed in their family. In that moment, John felt a sense of empowerment. He was no longer a victim of deceit. He was taking control of his narrative. The resolve to expose the affair publicly was not just about seeking revenge. It was about reclaiming his identity and ensuring that the truth was known. He wanted to protect his children from the lies that had surrounded them and to hold Dawn accountable for the choices she had made. As the evening unfolded, John braced himself for the fallout. He knew that the confrontation would lead to difficult conversations and emotional upheaval, but he was ready to face whatever came next. The truth had been revealed, and there was no turning back. In that moment, surrounded by friends and family, John felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was determined to navigate the challenges ahead, to seek healing for himself and his children, and to emerge from the shadows of betrayal into the light of truth. The atmosphere in the dining room was thick with tension as John T. Miller stood before his family and friends, the weight of his revelations hanging heavily in the air. The elegant decorations that had adorned the table for their 25th wedding anniversary now felt like a cruel reminder of the facade that had been shattered. Candles flickered, casting shadows on the faces of their guests, who were caught between shock and disbelief. John's heart raced as he prepared to confront Dawn, knowing that the emotional fallout from this moment would ripple through their lives forever. As John laid bare the truth about the DNA evidence and the implications for their family, he could see the color drain from Dawn's face. Her initial expression of confusion morphed into one of horror as the reality of the situation began to sink in. The room was silent, save for the sound of John's voice, which trembled with a mix of anger and sorrow. He watched as Dawn's eyes darted around the room, searching for support, but the faces of their friends reflected a mixture of shock and disappointment. It was clear that the betrayal had not only affected their marriage, but had also shattered the trust of those who had stood by them for years. Emily and Kent, who had been sitting quietly at the table, were the most affected by the revelation. John could see the confusion etched on their young faces as they processed the information. Emily's eyes filled with tears, and she looked from her father to her mother, seeking answers that neither of them could provide. Kent, usually the more stoic of the two, sat frozen, his expression a mix of disbelief and hurt. The emotional turmoil in the room was palpable, and John felt a deep sense of anguish for his children, who were now caught in the crossfire of their parents' betrayal. Dawn finally found her voice, her tone a mixture of desperation and denial. "John, please, let's talk about this privately," she pleaded, her eyes wide with fear. "You don't understand what you're saying." But John was resolute. He had spent too long living in the shadows of doubt and deception. "No, Dawn. This is the moment we need to face the truth together. You can't hide from this anymore," he replied, his voice steady despite the turmoil raging within him. As the confrontation unfolded, the reactions of their friends and family varied. Some looked on with sympathy, while others appeared visibly uncomfortable, unsure of how to respond to the unfolding drama. A few of their closest friends exchanged glances, their expressions reflecting a mix of shock and concern for the children. The emotional stakes were high, and John could feel the weight of their scrutiny as he continued to lay bare the truth. The immediate consequences of the reveal were profound. Dawn's composure began to crumble as the reality of her actions became undeniable. She broke down, tears streaming down her face as she struggled to find the words to explain herself. "I never meant for this to happen," she sobbed, her voice choked with emotion. "I was scared, and I didn't know how to tell you." John felt a surge of anger at her words. The pain of betrayal was too raw for him to accept her excuses. "Scared? You chose to betray me and our family. You made that choice," he shot back, his voice rising with emotion. Emily, unable to contain her feelings any longer, burst into tears. "Mom, how could you do this to us?" she cried, her voice filled with heartbreak. Kent, still in shock, looked at his mother with a mixture of confusion and anger. "Are we not your real kids?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The question hung in the air, a painful reminder of the shattered trust that now defined their family. John felt his heart break for his children, who were grappling with a reality they had never anticipated. As the confrontation continued, the emotional fallout became increasingly evident. Dawn's pleas for forgiveness fell on deaf ears as John struggled to reconcile the woman he had loved for so long with the reality of her betrayal. The room was filled with a cacophony of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion, and despair. Friends who had once celebrated the couple's love now found themselves grappling with the fallout of a relationship that had been built on lies. The consequences of the reveal extended beyond the immediate confrontation. As the evening wore on, John realized that the damage had been done, and there was no going back. The trust that had once defined their marriage was irrevocably shattered, and the emotional scars would take time to heal. He felt a sense of loss not only for the relationship he had with Dawn, but also for the family unit they had built together. The future that had once seemed so bright now felt uncertain and fraught with challenges. In the days that followed, the emotional turmoil continued to reverberate through their lives. John found himself grappling with feelings of betrayal and anger, while Dawn faced the consequences of her actions, both within the family and in the eyes of their friends. Emily and Kent struggled to process the revelations, their once stable world now turned upside down. The emotional fallout from that fateful evening would linger, forcing each family member to confront their feelings and navigate the complexities of their new reality. As John reflected on the confrontation, he knew that the road ahead would be difficult. Healing would take time, and the scars of betrayal would not easily fade. But he also understood that facing the truth was the first step toward rebuilding their lives, even if it meant starting from a place of pain and uncertainty. The confrontation had been a turning point, a moment that would define their family's journey moving forward. In the midst of the chaos, John felt a flicker of hope that, with time and effort, they could find a way to heal and rebuild, even if it meant redefining what family meant to them. In the aftermath of the confrontation that shattered the facade of John T. Miller's life, the emotional landscape shifted dramatically. The revelation of Dawn's betrayal and the truth about their children had left an indelible mark on John, altering his relationships and reshaping his identity as a father and husband. As he navigated the tumultuous waters of grief and anger, John found himself reflecting on the profound changes that had occurred in his life and the lives of those around him. The relationship between John and his children, Emily and Kent, was one of the most affected by the confrontation. Initially, the revelation had created a chasm of confusion and hurt. Emily, who had always been close to her father, struggled to reconcile her feelings of love and betrayal. She felt torn between her loyalty to her mother and her desire to understand the truth. Kent, on the other hand, was more reserved, often retreating into silence as he processed the emotional fallout. John recognized that his children were grappling with their own pain, and he made it a priority to be there for them, even as he dealt with his own heartbreak. In the weeks following the confrontation, John took deliberate steps to rebuild his relationship with Emily and Kent. He initiated open conversations, encouraging them to express their feelings without fear of judgment. He listened intently as they shared their confusion, anger, and sadness, validating their emotions and reassuring them that they were not alone in their struggles. John emphasized that, despite the revelations, his love for them remained unchanged. He wanted them to know that they were still his children, regardless of biology, and that their bond was rooted in love and shared experiences. As time passed, the support from his children became a source of strength for John. Emily began to open up more, sharing her fears and frustrations about the situation. She expressed her desire to maintain a close relationship with her father, and John felt a renewed sense of hope as they navigated this challenging chapter together. Kent, too, started to engage more, finding solace in shared activities like hiking and playing video games. These moments of connection helped to mend the rift that had formed, allowing John to feel a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. While John focused on healing his relationship with his children, the long-term effects of the confrontation weighed heavily on Dawn and her accomplices. The fallout from the revelation was significant, not only for John and his family but also for those who had been complicit in the deception. Dawn faced the consequences of her actions, both personally and socially. Friends who had once supported her began to distance themselves, unsure of how to navigate the complexities of the situation. The shame and guilt she felt were palpable, and she struggled to find her footing in a world that had turned upside down. Dawn's relationship with John was irrevocably altered. The trust that had once defined their marriage was shattered, and the emotional distance between them grew wider with each passing day. While John was committed to co-parenting and maintaining a civil relationship for the sake of their children, the intimacy they had once shared was replaced by a sense of obligation and resentment. Dawn's attempts to reach out and apologize often fell flat, as John grappled with the pain of betrayal. He found himself questioning whether forgiveness was even possible, and the emotional toll of their fractured relationship weighed heavily on him. As for the accomplices in Dawn's betrayal, their lives were also impacted by the fallout. Friends who had been aware of the affair faced their own moral dilemmas, grappling with feelings of guilt for not speaking up sooner. Some chose to distance themselves from Dawn entirely, while others attempted to mediate the situation, hoping to help the family heal. The social dynamics within their circle shifted, and the once tight-knit community felt fractured. The consequences of the affair rippled outward, affecting not only the immediate family but also the broader network of friends and acquaintances. Amidst the turmoil, John embarked on a journey toward healing and moving forward. He recognized that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was determined to reclaim his life and find a sense of peace. He sought therapy to help process the emotional fallout from the confrontation, allowing him to explore his feelings of anger, betrayal, and grief in a safe space. Through therapy, John learned valuable coping strategies and gained insights into his own emotional landscape, empowering him to navigate the complexities of his new reality. In addition to therapy, John began to focus on self-care and personal growth. He rediscovered hobbies that had once brought him joy, such as painting and hiking, and he made a conscious effort to prioritize his well-being. He surrounded himself with supportive friends who encouraged him to embrace this new chapter of his life. The journey toward healing was not linear. There were days filled with sadness and moments of doubt, but John remained committed to moving forward. As time passed, John began to see glimmers of hope on the horizon. His relationship with Emily and Kent continued to strengthen, and he found solace in their shared experiences. They created new traditions, such as family game nights and weekend outings, which helped to foster a sense of connection and joy amidst the challenges. John realized that while the past could not be changed, the future was still unwritten, and he had the power to shape it. Ultimately, the confrontation had been a catalyst for transformation in John's life. It forced him to confront uncomfortable truths, but it also opened the door to healing and growth. He learned the importance of vulnerability, communication, and resilience, and he emerged from the experience with a renewed sense of purpose. While the scars of betrayal would always remain, John understood that they did not define him. Instead, they became a part of his story, a story of strength, love, and the unwavering bond he shared with his children as they navigated the complexities of life together. In this video, we have taken you through the emotional journey of John T. Miller, a man whose life was turned upside down by betrayal, investigation, and confrontation. We began by exploring the subtle signs that led John to suspect his wife, Dawn, of infidelity. What started as a nagging feeling quickly escalated into a full-blown investigation, revealing shocking truths that would forever alter the course of their family's life. The emotional turmoil that John experienced during this time was palpable as he grappled with feelings of doubt, anger, and heartbreak. As the investigation unfolded, we witnessed John's determination to uncover the truth, culminating in the painful revelation that he was not the biological father of his children, Emily and Kent. This discovery not only shattered John's perception of his family, but also forced him to confront the reality of his relationship with Dawn. The confrontation itself was a pivotal moment, filled with raw emotions as John laid bare the truth in front of friends and family. The fallout from that evening was significant, impacting not only John and Dawn, but also their children and their social circle. Throughout this journey, we have emphasized the critical importance of honesty and trust in relationships. Betrayal can have devastating consequences, not only for the individuals involved, but also for the family unit as a whole. John's story serves as a powerful reminder that open communication and transparency are essential for maintaining healthy relationships. The emotional scars left by deceit can take time to heal, but acknowledging the truth is the first step toward rebuilding trust and moving forward. As we wrap up this video, we encourage you to reflect on the themes we've discussed. Have you ever faced a situation where trust was broken? How did you navigate the emotional fallout? We invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section below. Your insights could provide support and encouragement to others who may be going through similar challenges. If you found this video impactful, please consider subscribing to our channel for more content that delves into the complexities of relationships and personal growth. Don't forget to like this video and share it with friends or family who might benefit from hearing John's story. Together, we can foster a community that values honesty, understanding, and healing. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Remember, while betrayal can be painful, it can also lead to growth and transformation. Let's continue the conversation about the importance of trust and the power of resilience in the face of adversity. We look forward to hearing from you and hope to see you in our next video.